Cavs basketball almost here. Seen some really preseason action. Tony Camino there. I'm Andy Billman here. Tony on BelieveInLand.com previewed the matchups throughout the East, Bucks and Celtics. And actually, you almost forget the returning champs of the East, the Miami Heat, was his next segment up. Before we get to that, Tony, I've watched 2 preseason games. Early thoughts are typical NBA preseason. I really like what I see from Strus. And ironically, back end of the roster, I like Amani Bates the more I see him play. What's your early thoughts of the preseason games?
It seems like Bickerstaff has implemented the two things I've been pushing for and everybody's been pushing for. A lot more shooting and movement on offense to create a lot more space for the stars and pushing the ball in transition to get easy looks. They've been
Yep.
doing that a ton. Niang and Strus are going to be huge additions. I think Ty Jerome could play a really big role for this team. And Amani Bates, I've been high on him since we got
Yep.
him. I think by the end of the year, he's going to find himself in the rotation.
He is really playing. He stands out in these games. And what's ironic is in the first summer league game, he looked really raw. By the end, it was like, geez, he's actually starting to make plays.
Yeah.
He's actually starting to get in position, and a kid can hit a shot late in the game. Anyways, I agree with Tony. I've been pleasantly surprised by Amani Bates. I'm not shocked because I agree with Tony. Anyways, we could do a whole segment of Amani Bates. I think it's a fascinating watch throughout the whole year. Okay, to the Heat and the Cavs. Kevin Love's still there. Obviously, Butler's still there. The program's still there. We took their guy Strus, and then they got the Amadagio, who's a great player. So all that to be said, I don't see the Heat though as much of a threat this year, and I like them as a matchup with the Cavs.
Yeah, I'm not really as worried about him. We talked about the Bucks and Celtics and how they had huge off seasons. The Heat had the polar opposite. If you give the Bucks and Celtics A's for their off seasons and you give the Cavs a B plus B, then you would probably give the Heat like a C minus D plus. I mean, they didn't add anybody.
Not
They
really.
lost Gabe Vincent and Max Strus, which if you watched these last couple of years and last year in particular, Gabe Vincent was a huge reason they could make the run they did. Max Strus has been a key part of this offense for the last 3 years of their runs they've made. And they didn't do anything to retain him, and they didn't replace him. Now they're gonna get Tyler Hero back, but they didn't go over the board to like make any big moves, and their guard depth isn't very nice. Their big men, their depth in general is just not very good, and they're a team full of aging players
Yep.
outside of Adebayo and Hero. Kyle Lowry's slated to probably be the starting point guard. Is he going to be able to start
Yep.
70 plus games this year? I don't know. So it is a matchup I like. I think we can win inside, and I'm not really scared of their shooting either.
Yeah, I mispronounced his name. It's Adebayo. I am a big
Yeah.
fan of his. He is the best. If you actually ask me who's the best player in the Heat, I'd be like, I think Adebayo is. I really like how he plays. I really think he's a smart player. Really appreciate his game on the floor. I'm with Tony though. His team looks old. Here's the one thing: the Heat are the Patriots of the NBA. They have a great system, and they have from top to bottom with Riley on down, and they just Spoelstra's a great coach. I just like their system. So I'll never say they're dead, but I do think they're old. Lowry, Love, I think Love's on borrowed time. I really do. And I like Kevin Love, but I think he's on borrowed time. Butler, I think they've gone away with him not having that catastrophic he's gone for the year thing. I think all those are in play for the Heat. I worry more about the Knicks. I just don't worry about the Heat. And I'll wait. I'll eat my words, and they lose to the Heat this year. I don't feel that way. I like this matchup. I think Mitchell and Garland, even with Hero, have matchup things there. I think with Mobley in the center, they'll be fine. My only question when they play the Heat is rebounding. The Heat rebound well. The Cavs don't. It's gonna be a growing thing we're gonna talk about all year. Cavs have to figure out how to rebound better. Other than that, I like every other matchup in this game. I really do. If they were to play, I would like the matchup a lot.
Yeah, I think we look at the Knicks series and kind of that shadows our view on their rebounding because that was probably a very good display of how not to rebound. Now,
Right.
that was not the main reason they lost, it was definitely a reason. I think they're a better rebounding team than they show in that series. Mobley and Allen are both good rebounders. They both should be good rebounders at most times. They have great length. And it's not like Miami's. I mean, they have Adebayo inside, and yeah, Kevin Love's always been a good rebounder, but it's not. The Knicks had a size advantage with Mitchell Robinson, with Hartenstein. We made Hartenstein look way too good, but he's a solid player.
Yep.
I think we should show much better rebounding than they did against the Knicks. I don't think it ever will get worse than that rebounding, but we can't let them dictate it on the glass.
I pleasantly disagree with Tony. I saw the Cavs not rebounding since February of last year. In the two preseason games, it's been a sizable advantage. Now look, it's early in the preseason games. I don't take anything for granted because Mitchell and Garland are not following up any shots, and they will in the regular season. So they're going to get some rebounds here and there. I'll just say it again. I hear what Tony's saying. Something happened at the All-Star break where the Cavs lost their focus on rebounding. And I talked about a lot in post-game shows, and the stats showed it to me. They would get out rebounded almost constantly. And it wasn't like minimal. It would be like 5 to 10. So that's my only thing about this team. Now, in this particular matchup, by the way, that's the one thing I see. Everything else I think is fine. I really do. I think Mobley evens out with the other advantages they have there. I think the guard play is far too strong. And again, with Butler, Butler for some reason doesn't really go off against the Cavs. So I think that's okay there. I think the Cavs would be a really good matchup here. I really do. I like this matchup a lot.
Yeah, I don't think this is a team. I think as the year goes on, we're going to see how the Cavs separate themselves from the Heat and show that they're not in the
Yeah.
same tier because I don't really think they are.
No, I
I
don't
think
either.
we are a clearly better team on paper. We're built better with just in terms of we have more shooters around, players that complement each other. And yeah, honestly, the rebounding, the biggest thing with it is it seems we struggle the most with long rebounds. So like when it's
Me
a
too.
simple in the paint rebound between one of our big men, they seem to usually get it.
They're okay.
We
Yeah.
looked at that Knicks series. Josh Hart got every single 50-50 rebound. And I feel like that is the big, and that's unfortunately that's an effort thing, but it's also tough because we're contesting the shots super heavily. But it's just more, it's definitely an effort thing and a focus thing. But they have the personnel to rebound. They need to win those 50-50 balls more.
Look, I'm a big believer in this. You have to box out.
Yeah.
Cavs don't box out. I don't know why. And they've gone away with it for a long time. The guards do, ironically, but sometimes Allen and Mobley rely on their size to get rebounds. And then, by the way, they're tall and they're big, so they'll get some. But there is an art. There's an art to boxing out, and I'll leave it there. We could do a whole thing on rebounding. Cavs do so many things well. I don't understand how they do rebounding wise. All that to be said, in this matchup, we both agree. I think the Cavs have kind of passed the Heat. My one warning again, though, is the Heat have a system. Spoelstra and Riley are very smart, so would never not quantify this game. Meaning you got to take the Heat seriously. But I think they passed them. I agree with you about that. In fact, I think it's like sizable. I really don't worry about the Heat. Boy, last year I'd be worried about them. I'm not really worried about them this year. I think we'll be okay.
Yeah, I agree. I think they've had a pretty bad offseason, and we've seen that Jimmy Butler has the talent to put the team on his back at times. He hasn't really shown it through a regular season
Right.
or consistently even in the playoffs. But if Butler and Adebayo come out and play as well as they can for 70 plus games, that might change things, but I don't see that happening. I don't think the makeup of their team helps them to do that. They
Yeah, I
don't
think
really have Caleb Martin is a huge reason he came to life in the playoffs. If he can play like that for the course of a season, maybe, but the
maybe.
rest of his career has shown that he's not going to be that player.
Yeah, I guess the reason why I'm down is I don't know, and I think the Heat have kind of explained the same way. Tyler Hero, it's not just a bounce back thing. There's a lot of questions about what happened with him last year. And I'll leave it there because I don't follow the Heat. I don't really know, but I know there was a lot of questions and a lot of questioning about why didn't Tyler Hero come back in certain instances when it seemed like he might be healthy. And geez, I don't know. I think that team's a mess a little bit. I do. I think that team's a little bit of a mess, even with Adebayo, who I love. I think that team's a little bit of a mess. Check out the article Tony wrote on BelieveInLand.com. Check out all of Tony's great stuff. And we'll be talking about the manager for the Guardians, maybe a Browns win over the Niners, and all sorts of other great things. All on BelieveInTheLand.com.